The letter arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, 50 years too late. Thomas Avery nearly threw it away with the rest of the mail. Government envelopes had a way of reopening doors he had spent decades trying to close. His hands, older now and slightly unsteady, paused when he saw the return seal. He felt that familiar tightening in his chest, not fear exactly, but memory. Inside was a single page declassification notice. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you re-watching from. I love knowing who is listening. Thomas sat down slowly. The kitchen was filled with the soft ticking of the wall clock and the faint smell of coffee gone cold. Outside, autumn leaves scraped across the porch in restless circles. The world felt ordinary, but his past never had been. 50 years earlier, Thomas had been 22, standing in a valley thick with smoke and confusion. Orders had fractured, communication had collapsed. What remained was instinct. He had seen something no one else had, a narrow path along the ridge that could draw danger away from the trapped platoon below. It wasn't in the plan, it wasn't in the manual, it was simply there, waiting to be noticed. He didn't think about medals, he didn't think about history. He thought about the young men whose laughter he had heard the night before, who now lay pinned behind shattered stone. He ran. The decision had been reckless. Some called it disobedient, others later called it unnecessary, but Thomas remembered the weight of each step, the sting in his lungs, the way the sky had seemed too bright for such a dark moment. He remembered choosing to make himself visible so others could escape unseen. The official report never told that version. It mentioned confusion, it mentioned lack of clarity, it mentioned classified circumstances. His commanding officer recommended him for the highest honor available. The nomination disappeared somewhere above his pay grade. Thomas never asked why. He returned home, married his childhood sweetheart, built a quiet life fixing engines and raising two daughters. When people thanked him for his service, he nodded politely. He had learned that sometimes silence was easier than explanation, but the silence had weight. There were nights when he woke before dawn, the valley alive again. In his mind, he would sit at the edge of the bed, careful not to wake his wife, and wonder whether he had done the right thing. What if he had miscalculated? What if someone had been lost because of him? The report had been sealed, the footage locked away. Without answers, doubt found room to grow. The declassification notice trembled in his hands. It stated that archived aerial recordings from that day had been cleared for release. It invited him to attend a formal review ceremony in Washington. He almost didn't go. Recognition had never been his goal, and reopening history felt like pulling stitches from an old scar. But his eldest daughter insisted gently. If the truth is coming out, she told him, you deserve to see it. The ceremony hall was larger than he expected. Rows of officials, polished floors, flags standing tall and unmoving. Thomas felt small walking through it, his suit slightly outdated, his shoes carefully shined by habit. When the footage began, the room dimmed. The screen showed the valley from above, grainy but clear enough. Smoke curled between rocks, figures moved like scattered shadows, and then there he was, younger, faster, running. The camera angle revealed what no written report ever had. His movement along the ridge drew attention exactly as he had intended. The trapped soldiers below seized the opening and retreated to safety. The timing was precise, deliberate. The room was silent. Thomas watched himself stumble once, then keep going. He watched the moment he turned back, checking the valley one final time before disappearing behind stone. He hadn't remembered turning back. Tears blurred his vision. Not because of pride, but because the doubt that had lived with him for 50 years suddenly loosened its grip. The review board chair stood and cleared his throat. The previous denial, he explained, had been the result of incomplete intelligence and restricted surveillance materials. The footage had remained classified due to broader operational secrecy. In protecting national interests, they had buried a personal truth. There it was, the moral weight of it all. Was secrecy justified if it erased sacrifice? Was silence protection, or was it neglect? Thomas didn't feel anger, only a deep, quiet ache for time lost. When the chair announced that the Medal of Honor would be awarded retroactively, the hall rose in applause. The sound felt distant at first, like rain on a faraway roof. Then it grew warmer, fuller. He stood slowly as the medal was placed around his neck. It was heavier than he expected, not because of metal but because of memory. After the ceremony, reporters asked how it felt to finally receive what he had been denied. Thomas thought for a long moment before answering. It feels, he said gently, like the truth came home. That night, back in his quiet kitchen, he placed the medal beside the old declassification letter. The clock ticked the same as it always had, the leaves still scraped across the porch, but something inside him had shifted. He no longer questioned the choice he made in that valley. History had taken 50 years to speak, but when it did, it spoke clearly. Recognition may be delayed, but truth does not disappear, and sometimes buried stories wait patiently for the light. If this story moved you, tell us below. Do you believe every sacrifice eventually finds its voice? And if you value stories where hidden truths finally rise, subscribe to Cinematic Whispers, where silence always has something to say.